Hey warriors, I hope you're all doing good. So yes, Jan 25 exams are over and so many people have cleared. I've spent the last few days, unfortunately, spending my time with the people who could not clear and get them grooved to what is the upcoming exams. But I really wanted to make this video. First of all, hearty congratulations to everyone who has cleared this Jan 2025 exams. An amazing result this time, but more than that, the efforts which you put across really shows. I know this was the lengthiest time which a student has gone through for an exam because everyone who wrote Jan 25 for the first time went through a 12 months long stress in order to get through the exam. And so despite that, clearing the exams is a really big achievement for all of you. First of all, have a pat on your back. You really deserve what is coming forward to you. You are deserving a CA finalist. This then brings me to the point. Yes, you're done with stage number 2. You're moving on to your stage number 3, the last step of your CA journey, your CA finals. Welcome to the CA final journey, people. It's going to be equally challenging, but even so more rewarding from your exam perspective. You will get a good amount of experience as you go forward right now because you are now at that stage where you're a little bit more mature than what you were. Yes, the journey is going to be very different with your articleship starting, the experience you're going to get of the corporate world and everything, and then enter into this phase of you writing a CA final. The difference will be visible very apparently. Now, as much as I've been discussing all this with all of my other students also, people, I thought this is a good idea for me to make a video to come and tell you how should you be looking at your CA final. The reason is very simple. After you complete your CA inter and you move into CA final, the process is a little different. You have to go through a certain step process in order to get through it, and therefore chances of you making mistakes is fairly common. Now, I'm not going to tell you that whatever I'm going to tell you right now is the only way to go. It's CA final, people. You are mature enough to make your own decisions in life, but sometimes it helps to have personal opinions. And this is coming from a person like me who has cleared his attempt in first time, all the 3 levels. And therefore, I have a fair bit of an experience, not just from my personal experience, but also the students I've mentored all this while. Yes, so in this video, we're going to be discussing some important critical points which you should be keeping in mind as you progress to your CA final journey. Yes, which is including your articleship and every other things for that matter. And I also try my level best to answer some questions which you already have in your mind, some doubts which you're already having in your mind based on what you have discussed with your seniors, your professionals, your family, friends, and all those things. Those things is also which we're going to discuss. The video may get a little lengthy, people, because important things are going to be discussed. So please stick with me till the very end because you'll definitely enjoy and you'll get a good amount of experience on what we are talking about. The document which you have has a good amount of insights which is there, and therefore I will also print this document and I'll share it across in a link for you to all have it in your hand for future references as well. Because yes, you're going to start a journey of CA final for 3 years now. For 3 years, it's not going to be a small time, and therefore a video today may not be relevant in tomorrow. You will have to keep this in your hand for you to keep a reference on. Yes. Awesome. Let's start with our discussion on your CA final journey, people. We are going into understanding what exactly do you need to be doing from today. As you have completed your CA intern and have received your results, you may at this point of time probably be going through your ITT and orientations because you have your exam, you have your articleship coming up. The first and the critical rule which I want every one of you to know is that if you want to attempt the November 2027 exams, which is the first exam you are eligible for, you will need to register before 30th April. Yes, 30th April is your cutoff to be registering for your November 2027 exams, and I want every single one of you to please do that. Please register before 30th April for your articleship. It is extremely important that this happens, people, because a shift of an attempt to May 28 is not worth it. You have put in efforts to get this Jan 25 cleared, and therefore you should be writing November 27 rightfully for your exams. So please do not have this thought in your mind that you want to delay your exams further. Don't do that. Don't do that. Complete registrations before 30th April. Now, a requirement to complete your registrations before 30th April is that, people, you will need to complete your ITT and orientation before that. ITT and orientation completion is important. Certificate may not be as crucial as possible. Certificates may come in later also, people, but before 30th April, ICA should have it on their records that you have completed your course. Extremely important. Which means if there are some people who have still not gone through your ITT and orientation, please go request ICF, find a batch and definitely do that. If it is in your location, do it. If it's some other location, also take that effort, but get it done, people. Before 30th April, it should happen. Now, let me clear this air once again for all of you that Rahul, I have gone and applied for an interview. The officer, the articleship guy, my principal is coming and telling me that I can only register you from 5th May, 6th May, a little bit more than that. Should you accept it? Don't. Please don't accept it. On ICA records, you should be reflected as 30th April. Contrary, if the principal comes and tells you, I will onboard you from 5th May, 10th May, probably 20th May, but on your articleship document, I will register it as 30th April, that is still fine. That is still fine. You can go with that. You can go with that. But please do get that confirmation from him that he will register you on 30th April and anything before that. If not, please don't accept this model. Please don't accept this model. You will get into a risk, people. Losing attempt because of articleship is not worth it. Yes. So please ensure that you plan for that. And third and the most critical thing is that as you're entering into articleship and you're getting into the groove of getting into corporate, people, don't leave the ultimatum intention here, the intention to clear your CA finals, which means as you enter your articleship itself, you should be planning for your CA finals appropriately then and there. Making a mistake here that yes, let's get into the corporate, let's enjoy life and everything. Yes, you should definitely do it because you deserve it. But it also means that you should be planning for your CA finals appropriately right now, because I know there are some confusions which most of the people have from CA Inter to CA final depending on what you hear from your seniors. There are various kind of seniors you're going to go through, people. Seniors will give you two options. Option number one, will they come and ask you, should I start my CA preparation right away? Some people, the overexcited ones, people, the seniors, the ones who have taken probably multiple attempts and all, who are really serious and dedicated towards studies, would come and tell you that on 30th April, once you start your articleship itself, next day you should have applied for a class and you should have started your classes. You should have started your classes. Is that a good option? Your choice. Your choice. Not my suggestion. Not my suggestion. Because let's bear in mind, people, you are writing November 27. There are so much amount of time pending. Starting your classes and hurrying about it means that you will complete your classes a little earlier. And then there'll be a big long waiting period before you come for your exams. That waiting time will be causing problems for you to get through what you have done in the subject. So do I start right away? Maybe not. Maybe not. The other extreme of people are those who would come and say, you know what, enjoy your articleship. 2 years you have, complete your enjoyment of articleship, go do parties, do whatever you want, learn whatever you can, but start your preparations only in the month of April. You have your exams in November 27, start in April 27. The 6 months study leave which you'll get, sit in that 6 months day and night and only prepare for all that CA final subjects and clear your exams. Is that a suggestible option? Again, no. No, you do not do that as well, people, because for the 6 months when you're dragging yourself and preparing for your exams, there is too much of a mental stress, especially because of the fact that for the last 2 years you've been working hard. You have not even took your pen and paper out to practice, and therefore in that 6 months, if you sit and prepare so much hard, you will not get through it. You'll not get through it. At the same time, you will also lose on your time for you to revise the paper, and therefore this extreme is also not good, which means extreme number one, to prepare right away, not suggestible. Not suggestible, causes problems. Extreme number two, to do all classes in the last day, also not suggestible, causes problems. Where do we stand? We stand in the middle ground. We stand in the middle ground, and that's what is the master's plan which we are going to discuss today. Neither go for the extremes, stand in the middle and do everything better. The third and the most critical question, people, and this is more something which has happened after COVID times, is do I do an offline class or do I do an online class? Now that everyone is going after COVID, everyone has this mindset that, you know what, maybe online is better because I have to spend time, focus on my articleship. My articleship principal is not allowing me. I'm going and working in my office at 9 a.m. in the morning. How do you expect me to do classes early morning and all? Those kind of confusions will also be there. So let's answer that as a question also, people. Yes. So two critical things we're going to be answering in today's video. We're going to be answering when should we start our classes, and second, how should we prefer the classes. For me to do that, people, let's first take you through the sequence of your CA final. In case after CA Inter you have not had the time to go through CA final, let me tell you what the papers are looking like. These are your 6 papers which you'll be writing for your CA final, people, starting with the first paper called as FR, or as you call it in your Inter, accounting paper. Your financial reporting or accounting paper is the first paper which you'll be writing. Second is your advanced financial management. The 50 marks paper which you had in your CA Inter as FM has now become AFM, advanced financial management. Third paper is your audit, standardly as your Inter. Fourth paper and fifth paper are a split. While in Inter you wrote DT for 15 marks and IDD for 50 marks, you will now write DT for 100 marks and IDT for a separate 100 marks. Finally comes in the critical paper which will cause problems, the multidisciplinary case study. This is an open book paper where ICI would tell you that you are free to bring whatever books you want, because ICI will ask questions from all subjects, which means for MCS all 5 subjects are important. All 5 subjects are important. You need to go through all subjects. Now comes the question on how do we sequence this. First is to understand what exactly is happening in each subject. What exactly is happening in each subject. First, to understand, people, what are the amendment areas, meaning which subject can I do a little earlier so that I would be safer even though something happens later on. On an FR level, people, normally the amendments are not changed. Ind AS has already established itself, and therefore amendments would come more on disclosure levels, and therefore FR would have very meager 0 to little amendments. AFM would not change at all. Audit is also not changing unless and until there is a modification in Companies Act. The critical ones which change is DT. DT every year, as you would be aware, goes through a new Finance Act, and therefore huge changes come. Now, IDT is also part of the Finance Act, people, but generally the changes are not as significant as DT because GST is also fairly matured at this stage. They make some disclosure changes, but as such, I'm not expecting significant changes on that. And finally comes your MCS. Now, MCS is depending on every other paper, so therefore that is how the whole model is. Which means in the order of priority, the subject like DT and IDT should be always kept for the last. Other subjects is something which you can plan ahead in advance and start doing better. Sequence is already given to you on the right side, people. What is my preference of the sequence on how do you do a subject? Always prefer to start with FR paper number 1. Why exactly are you telling FR, Rahul? You're telling me FR is having changes, whereas AFM does not have changes. Let me focus on AFM first. Yes, people, you can do that, but there is only one issue. As you enter your articleship, you have only done accounting standards only from an AS perspective and only from a very, very small scale perspective, that too theoretically. As you enter your articleship, people, you now get the real life experience on how accounting looks like, how financial reporting is done, how audit report is done, how financials are prepared. And therefore, you need to have a good knowledge and understanding of how your accounting paper looks like. At the same time, people, if you're planning to join a big serious firm, a big four kind of a firm, or a higher middle class kind of a firm, you're going to get into companies which are really big, and they would be following something called as Ind AS, Indian Accounting Standards, things which you have not done in your life till now because you're going to learn it about in finals. Doing a paper like FR right away means, people, that you will get that exposure and will know what you're talking about when you get into your articleship. So the sooner you do FR, the better it becomes for you to start planning ahead for your articleship in better. Otherwise, what would happen, people, is that you will first get your exposure in articleship and then would be using it for your exams, which may not make more sense. Having a bit of a more theoretical exposure and then getting into practicality will really make sense. And therefore, I always prefer that FR would be the first paper to look into. What about the amendments, Rahul? Do I not need to pay attention to amendments because I do it right away? Don't worry, people. If you have gone through the analysis of the subject, as you keep doing your articleship, the articleship itself will tell you what and all amendments are coming in FR. And regardless of what it is, when you start preparing for your final exams during that study leave, you will get to know what amendments are relevant for you. So you don't need to pay that much attention to FR related amendments, people. Order of priority, always FR is the best subject to start with for your practical exposure. Then you can normally go for your sequence, people. Sequence number 2, I prefer to do AFM because now there is no amendments in this. So attempt after FR you're done, you go into AFM. Then, people, you start with the subject called as direct taxes, because by the time you complete these two papers, you would now have a point where Finance Act would have been notified for your exams, and therefore faculties would have already started uploading full course classes. So faculties would have already come to this full course classes where they would have told Finance Act has already been notified, we know what the amendments are, and therefore we are ready to teach you the subject for your upcoming exams. And therefore by this time DT would also be done. After DT, people, you will take two papers together. One is audit and one is IDT. The reason I'm keeping audit and IDT together is, people, because the content of both the subjects are fairly less, and therefore both the subjects can be completed in a shorter span of time as compared to every other subject. FR, AFM and audit, FR, AFM and DT would probably take 3 to 4 months to complete, whereas an IDT kind of a paper can complete in 2 months, and audit kind of paper can be completed in 1.5 months also. Yes, and therefore these two papers combined together would be rather easier for you to read, because we're going to keep it at the very last of your exams, just a little bit before your study leave. Finally, leaving you with the last paper called as multidisciplinary case study. This is a paper which you can never start unless you have completed other papers, and therefore this is the paper which will be attempted in the last. More so for the reason, people, that this is an open book paper, and therefore there is no papers here, there is no books for you to refer. So whatever papers you have done for the first 5 papers would be used as a reference point for your MCS. Preference of this in your study leave. But since you're entering CA final, people, it is not just the 6 papers which you're talking about. There are additional things to do. ICA has notified that for your exams you'll have 4 self-paced modules. 4 self-paced modules. 2 of them have been notified already. Paper number 1 called as costing and paper number 2 called as law. Yes, these are the 2 technical papers which has been notified for your SPOM perspective, after which you will be given 2 more papers to read through. 2 more papers to read through. For what I understand, people, one of this paper will be a specialized paper, meaning you can choose a core paper of yours. It can be international taxation, risk advisory, financial management, all sorts of those tips. all sorts of those things. And the one paper would be more generic paper, which will talk about psychology, Constitution of India, AI, and all those things. Yes, so these two papers, while ICI itself has not notified these papers yet, but it will come by the time you're ready for your exams. Second, as much as you're completing your ITT and GMC orientation right now for your inter people, you'll also have an advanced ITT and GMCS to be completed for your finals, and these two will have to be completed before your exam leaves as well. Before your exam, and you can do it in your exam leaves as well, but why would you want to do that? Yes, you basically have to do it before you register for your CA final exams, right? So these things are also have to be done. 6 papers, 4 SPOMs, 1 ITT and 1 GMCS to be conquered for your exams. Now comes the confusion. Rahul, so many papers. I have to start from right away, then only I'll get it. No, Rahul, otherwise why will I have it to be done? How can I finish these many papers in time? Which means tomorrow if I start my articleship, day after tomorrow I'll start my classes. No, you don't need to do that, people. To ease your efforts, what I've done is I've prepared a timeline chart for you. Yes, and this is the best timeline chart which I can tell you is there in the market right now, which will help you better to understand how to do this. The approach of this timeline chart is very simple, people. Rather than coming on forward, I will come from the back. Let's try to answer one subject from the back so that we know when we stop. We know when we stop, because we want to keep it more closer to the exam and not more closer to articleship. On that note, people, since you have cleared your exams right now, you'll be attempting your articleship from April 2025 and therefore becoming eligible for November 2027. So I'm targeting November 2027 as your articleship period. With your November 2027 as your articleship period, people, what is going to happen? Your study leave will start 6 months before, because you only have 6 months of 2 years of articleship, and therefore April 27 will be let go. From April 27 to November 27 will be your study leave, people, for you to prepare for your CA final. In this time, what my preference is, in the month of April and May, sit and prepare for MCS. Sit and prepare for MCS, meaning before your study leave itself, you should have been done with all the balance 5 papers. And during your study leave, the first 2 months, you're sitting in your open books, marking papers, marking notes and everything. This is going to help you in 2 ways. One, you're anyway going to start preparing for your main papers, because that is what you're doing in MCS, right? So you will anyway come and complete your 5 papers while you prepare for MCS. At the same time, you're also preparing for MCS, and therefore 2 birds are killed in 1 stone. So preference of this, April and May, finish your MCS off. After April and May gets over, people, now starts your preparation stage. From June till October, June, July, August, September, October should be your revision period. And I'm making it very clear, this should be your revision period. It should not be your preparation period. You should have completed classes before this. 5 months of preparations can be a very, very good idea for you to clear your exams, and not just clear, but get an exemption or a little bit more efforts, rank also. 5 months should fairly suffice, people. More than 5 months, you will get stressed out. You'll get stressed out. Do not get into that. So June, July, August, September, October, 5 months, if you spend time on this, you should be able to do a very, very good job when it comes to your articleship. Yes, yes, yes. After that, people, comes in a month before. Now that we are a little bit back from April, let's look at what is now pending. During your period of Jan to April would be the very closest period during your exam leave, and therefore this is the time where I would prefer you to do 2 papers. One is IDT and audit. Like I said, it will take 2.5 months for probably IDT and 1.5 months for audit. So Jan to April should be a good idea for you to complete your IDT and audit. At this time, people, you will also take up one of the 4 SPOMs paper. Whatever is your choice. Preference would be those that administrative paper like Constitution of India and all those things can be done here. So take your SPOM number 4 along with your GMCS. People, always ensure that your ITT and GMCS happens during articleship. Do not wait for your study leave. The reason is very simple. As per ICI guidelines, the principal is supposed to give you free leaves for your articleship period, for your GMCS and ITT. It would be assumed as you are working, but you will be given ITT and GMCS. And therefore, first half of the day or the second half of the day, as the case may be, will be given free of charge for you. You can actually spend your time doing articleship, but learning better things in GMCS. Yes, so please attempt a GMCS at this point of time. If you want, you can do ITT also. It depends. It doesn't matter whether you get ITT first or GMCS first, whatever it is. It will be a 15 days course, people, same as your orientation right now, but a 15 days course anywhere in this 4 months period, your choice. You can prefer it depending on what kind of scheme and what kind of field you are in. If there is some critical season coming in, then you can avoid that month for yourself. Yes, so 4 things which will happen in this period of Jan to April. You'll do something called IDT, you'll do audit, you'll do 4th SPOM, you'll do GMCS. Let's come a step back. After this is over, people, we are coming into Jan 27. So a little bit before Jan 27 till August 26 is your preference to do something called DT. is your preference to do something called DT. As I told people, if you're writing November 27, the Finance Act number 2026 will be informed to you. The Finance Act number 2026 is what is applicable to you, and Finance Act number 2026 after February 26 would have been notified by the month of March. Probably some changes and everything would come in the month of July. After August, there would hardly be any changes except for circulars and notifications. By August, ICA itself would have launched the study material for your upcoming exams of May 27 and November 27, and therefore this is the time for you to start preparing for DT. There is only one word of caution. When you go for your DT classes, please do check on which Finance Act are you applying for. Sometimes a faculty may be doing crash courses, and those crash courses may be relevant for November 26, which means it'll be previous Finance Act. Don't fall into the trap that you end up doing a previous Finance Act, people. No. For all those people who are thinking, Rahul, I am planning to do articleship in taxation field, and therefore why don't I do direct tax on the first day itself? As I start my articleship itself, let me do direct taxes so that I'll have good grip on what is happening. No, people. If you're anyway getting into taxation for an articleship, your firm itself will tell you what kind of amendments to be read, and your firm will keep you geared on it. This class is being done for the limited purpose of clearing your exams. Maybe getting a little bit more exposure as well, true, but the intention is to get your exams cleared, and therefore this is not for the purpose of your articleship. Do not have that mistake to do DT right away. You will get a big challenge to amend your books again and again for every attempt. Don't do that. Stick to the latest amendment book for your exam. So yes, April to Jan is what you'll be doing your doing your direct tax paper, people, with the updated Finance Act 2026 for your exams. Now, it may so happen that because there will be delay in study material and all, it can so happen that it get pushed a little bit. Maybe the faculty may start in the month of September, maybe a little bit on October. It doesn't matter. The more the faculty delays, the more time it will take the more earlier he'll try to complete it, which means January normally is a cutoff for every faculty to complete the subject. So please don't worry about it. You should be going for this. Now, if any faculty comes up and approaches you and comes and says, because it was notified in Feb, let me start a class in the month of March 26 itself, don't go for these classes. Please don't go for these classes, because for those who understand this carefully, even if a finance bill is notified on Feb 26, until March end, the finance bill does not become an act. After March also, people, a lot of queries and all come in from department perspective, and therefore circulars and notifications become changing. When all those things are happening, it is not preferred for you to start a class right now in the month of March and the month of April itself. August and later to August is the best time to start for your exam preparations of your November 27. Class before that is always risky for you. Please don't do that. Now that you have completed your August DT, people, along with this, you're also doing one more SPOM. It can be the third SPOM, which I spoke about, your technical paper, whatever paper of your preference. Once you're done with this, people, I take a step back. In August 26, prior to August 26 will come May 26. Between this period, May 26 and August 26, you will be spending time on this detailed subject called as Advanced Financial Management. This is the paper which will take a little bit more extra efforts from you, people, because this will be a new thing altogether. You'll be learning something called foreign exchange management, security valuations and all those things, something which you may have not done in your inter as well, and therefore this needs a good dedicated time from May to August. Yes, faculties will take a good amount of 4 to 5 months to complete the subject, and therefore pay attention to this. This again will be done along with the SPOM number 2. This can either be costing or lot, depending on what your preference is. Here, people, during this period of May 26 to Jan 27, whatever month feels good to you, when you have little bit of a free time, attempt your ITT as well. So that now you're done with ITT also, GMCS also, and it is not coming together, so your principal is also not objecting to you so much. Yes, but again, please prefer those months where you don't have much of a season, then only your principal will allow to you. Otherwise, during season time, if you request for ITT, you're not getting permissions on those. Yes, so during your articleship, you'll automatically get to know, people, what months are very critical for me, what months are not critical for me. Those months you pay attention to and get your ITT GMCS done. If you're done with this, you come back a step before May 26. From December 25 to May 26, which means this year end itself, you will start something called as FR. And then pay attention to this one last paper called as SPOM number 1. Yes, which means even if you start your articleship right now in April 25 until December 25, please chill out. Relax, because you have just now started your corporate level, people. You need to first go get the understanding of what is happening in the course, tell about people, make circles, get a social life and all those things. And therefore, for the next 6 months, please take a seat back, relax your time, enjoy your atmosphere, and learn what you can, because the first 6 months is when you're most inquisitive. You want to learn as much as possible. You want to deep dive into things. Once you get into, after 6 months, no people, you start realizing the reality of life. You then start objecting to what is happening in the articleship phase. You don't want to go to office. You don't like the atmosphere around you. That is the time when you would like to stay away, and therefore classes at that time would feel better. During your first 6 months, you are excited, so pay attention to articleship, because that's where you learn the most, right? And therefore this is the master plan chart. Ignore the first 6 months, start from December, and then you will see that what I have done is every 6 months I've given you one class to go through, and therefore the pressure on your mind is very less. Every month I'm also giving you every attempt I'm also giving you one form to go through, and during these periods I'm also completing your ITT and GMCS, which means you are not pushing everything to your exam leave as well, you're not starting too early as well, and therefore you are on the right track. A strategy like this will help you do your exams in the most safest manner, keep your stress out, and keep everything safer from your perspective. Yes, I don't believe that this can be done anything better. This is what my preference would be. Now, yes, based on your choices, people, you can always alter classes. Maybe instead of doing IDT and audit together, you can move audit to DT as well. You can move audit with along with AFM as well. Your choice. Audit is not a paper which is going to amend itself, and therefore where you put audit doesn't matter. I'm keeping it with IDT people because that phase will only have a 2.5 months waiting period. You'll have a little bit more time for you to do other subject, and therefore IDT would prefer itself. If there are some classes getting pushed up here and there, you can always modify it, but the sequence remains the same. You don't change the sequence, people. Do not go and start doing DT very first. Do not go and start doing FR in the very end. There is no point on those. There is no point in this. Now, if you have understood this master chart, people, there are some rules which I want you to follow for the last question which you have. Rahul, do I do offline classes or do I do online classes? I think some things can be answered based on your choice of articleship itself. If you are planning to go for an articleship where most of the times you're going to get into outstation audits, I don't know which firm you're getting into, people, but some firms have this practice to only have outside Chennai clients or outside your state clients. Those cases, like, you don't have an option. You will have to choose recordings only, because that is what you can go through. That is what you can go through. And therefore, if you're into outstation audits most of the time, please prefer recordings. If you're not into outstation audits, maybe you have joined taxation department, your life is always going to be in office, or if you're into only local audits, in that case, people, depending on where you are going will change your answer. Sometimes your state may have a faculty which takes classes physically and you have heard good things about him. In that case, always prefer physical classes. Always prefer physical classes. Now you may come and say, Rahul, I have in my inter itself done in online classes only. What is the big deal? I can manage it with inter. Yes, you can, people. There is no doubts about it. But as you enter the CA profession, you need to know few things. First is, there is something called being disciplined about it. Yes, with an online class, the preference comes to you. You get the choice to decide as to when do you want to do the class. Maybe at 6 in the morning, 12 in the night, or 4 o'clock in the evening. I am doing it whenever I want, people. I am feeling like I want to go for a leave, and therefore I'll take a big 2 weeks of leave and then do it again. People, the rhythm gets broken. And therefore, a physical classes force you to come for the class no matter how much hard you try. And therefore, a physical classes always help you do better. Second, people, physical classes always engage you better. You get a social circle. You are along with people who are reading the subject along with you, and therefore this is the good place to network. CA as a curriculum requires inherently that you should have an inward network, people, because as you clear, maybe start doing practice, maybe start engaging a few more people, the network which you build across makes a huge difference. I personally can come and tell you, people, that the friends which I made in my life are all friends which I found in classes. Yes, so physical classes really help you make that circle for yourself, and that is important. That is important. You may be an introvert also, people, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you need a friend even as an introvert, and therefore physical classes give you that exposure, people. So please, if you have a choice, prefer physical, but that does not mean that you compromise on quality. If you cannot find a physical class with good quality classes, don't go for it. Then you don't have a choice, go for recordings. But people, there are always options to that also. Even if you're choosing a recording class, it is not necessary that you have to watch it alone. Maybe you can create a virtual physical setup for yourself. What does that mean, Rahul? Imagine there are 4 friends. You are all doing classes and all together. You are doing your articleship together. You can always engage with each other. You can all decide with each other that, you know what, I am planning to start FR. Why don't you start FR along with me? Both of you will buy one class. Both of you will buy one class and then decide that either I will sit in your home and watch the class, or you will sit in my home and watch the class. Daily we'll keep a track that yes, early morning 6 o'clock, one of us will come to each one's house and we will sit together and watch the classes, so that there is a discipline maintained. There is a discipline maintained. That is a very good strategy which you have to follow, people, because that time also you get the same atmosphere. You get the same atmosphere. Two things happen. One is you're saving on cost because you're not paying for two students cost, you're paying only for one student's cost. Second, you're able to make sure that your discipline matters, because when you buy a class, most of the faculties will give you 1.5x times, 1.6x times, 1.8x times, which means if you watch the class and your friend does not watch the class, then the class will never be watched again, right? And therefore it puts pressure on both of you to ensure that yes, you both are available for the classes in order to do better. That can also be an option which can be followed, people, and that still solves the purpose. Yes. Second, and the most critical thing, like I said, when it comes to physical classes, people don't go to classes for the sake of going to classes. Yes, you may have challenges to watch classes online, you're not disciplined, but that does not mean that you start choosing physical classes and end up with a faculty which you're not happy about. At the same time, people, there is also this very bad notion in the market where people come and say that I would choose a faculty based on his fame. The one problem which I'm seeing in the market, and this is not just me commenting from my perspective, is that most of the people would come and say this faculty has produced a rank this attempt and therefore this faculty is the best faculty to go and approach for a class. People, as a faculty, I can come and tell you, ranks do not come because of a faculty. Ranks come based on the student's preference. Ranks come based on how competent the student is, and therefore don't sway away with the fact that a faculty produced a rank because the faculty had no involvement in it. He taught the same subject to all students, whether it was a ranker or a non-ranker. If a ranker was produced from that, then that means he was capable enough to get it. And this is me coming and telling you as a faculty myself. I never come and tell anyone that I've produced a rank, because it is not something I have done. The only thing which you can probably look for is two things, people. First is, how do you feel comfortable about his way of teaching? There are some faculties who take very seriously, who go through the subject and make it very as specific as possible. There are some faculties who like to make a class atmosphere a little more fun to enjoy. Yes, and therefore it is your preference. You need to decide which faculty suits you better. If you are the person who likes to enjoy the classes and wants to have a little bit more insights into it, maybe a funny faculty would be better to you. If you want a class with more serious notes, you just want to go and complete the class and come back without any clarity, then in that case you can choose a more serious faculty as well. There is no harm in choosing a faculty on your preference, people, but don't choose a faculty based on his fame. That's not how you approach a class, especially in CA final, people, especially in CS final, because in CA final it is very easy to get a rank. It is very easy to get a rank in the sense that it is very easy to tell that your student has got a rank, because sometimes it so happens, people, that a student may have opted for a class, may have not enjoyed the class and would have then gone and done a separate class, or would have probably done a self-study. But because the faculty has this paper, the faculty would start flaunting about the fact that this student read under me. Now, the student would also not say otherwise, because he ideally did take classes from him. Although, yes, you and I both know that he did not enjoy the class. That is why, people, it is not something which you go based on a faculty's recommendation. You do not choose a class based on the fame of the faculty. You choose a class based on your comfort with the class. But the most important thing when you're going for a physical class is that, people, you watch out for the faculty schedule, which means if you have chosen that this batch period, like you're going to do a class, always pay attention to when the faculty wants to keep the class. Now, while I may tell you as a master plan that the classes of AFM should start from May, it may sometimes so happen that your favorite faculty whom you have already finalized may start the class in April. At that point of time, don't jump up in the month of May and then start searching for the faculty, because the faculty would have already completed a month's worth of classes, which means at this point of time, you need to have at least 2-3 months in advance to check for the faculty schedule. Reach out to the faculty, talk to their admin teams and try to understand when is the upcoming batches, and then register for the batch, even if it sways away the timeline a little bit. Maybe instead of May 26, you start in April 26, people. There is no harm in that. There is no harm in that, because you prefer to go for a full course and a physical class, and therefore you need to take that advantage also, which means this master plan is good for you to follow, but it is not a rigid plan. It can always be modified to the preference of the faculties as well. Therefore, when it comes to physical classes, people, please watch out for the faculty schedule. Please watch out for the faculty schedule. Don't go for a class and then later on regret coming and saying, I did not know that the faculty started a month ago, now I'm taking online classes. No. If you have decided and you have fixed yourself for a physical class, choose to notice the faculty. Feel free to always reach out to the faculty's people. If a faculty is good enough, he'll be genuine enough to you to give you updates on a daily basis also on what is happening. So therefore, that is something which you need to clear. Point number 4, it is not about finishing classes. It is about preparing properly. The one mistake which I'm noticing in most of the CA final students is that CA final students have this mindset that, you know what, Rahul, I'm anyway getting 5 months to prepare during my study leave. No, let me do one thing. Let me go for the class, watch the class, come back and enjoy. I will focus on the subject again in the next 5 months when I get my study leave. No, absolutely not. The biggest issue with this is that people, if you have done a class like FR right now, you're going to watch your study leave 2 years later, and therefore at that point of time, opening up the book and starting to read once again is as good as you have not done FR itself. If you had to anyway go through the study leave and do it yourself, then you didn't have to spend money on that FR class. You could have rather done it in the study leave itself. A simple clean strategy which I tell most of the people during classes is that as you complete your class itself, please ensure that you make your notes. You prepare yourself today itself to come and say, during my study leave, this is the only material which I'm going to use. Because let's be clear, people, CA final comes with a vast subject. It has a big volume to be discussed, and sometimes faculties really give you big books. Some faculties which are taking FR would also give you 6 modules for you to go through. Now, you and I both know that during exam leaves, you're not going to go through study leave. We're not going to go through 6 volumes, especially during a 1.5 days, people, because if you're going to spend 1.5 days doing 6 modules, you're definitely not clearing. Which means as you complete the class itself, people, you should be in a position to come and say, 6 modules is what the faculty gave me. 1 module is what I'm going to pay attention to during my 1.5 days, and 3 modules is what I'm going to use for my study leave. If that plan of action is already clear, during your study leaves, you'll have limited things to go through. You'll have more time to spend on other subjects as well, and you'll be able to complete things better. You will also have a strategy in your mind for what is going to happen 1.5 days during your exam leave, and therefore your plan would be more clear. Yes, so therefore every time you go for the classes, don't complete classes for the sake of completion. Focus on what is being taught and plan for your future. Please do that. The last and the most important thing which I want to clarify to you is, especially because I'm giving this master plan to you. Now, for all those students who are anyway planning that the last 6 months I'm going to do my exams, you will not have this stress, people. But for all those people who are doing this master plan or probably planning to start ahead in advance, the issue with subjects like FR and all is that after you complete FR right now, you will focus on FR only 2 years later. Now, it is very, very possible that you may have forgotten the subject. You may have forgotten what is happening because you have then done AFM, you have done DT, you have done IDT and all those things. And therefore, a little bit of an intention request which comes in is that the subjects which you complete earlier, please keep a consistent revision on it. What do you mean by consistent revision, people? It's very simple. If you have written classes from December to May, you know that when you complete your classes in May, there is an upcoming exam coming up for May 2025 or May 2026 as the case may be. It takes a second, people. Stick to yourself and come and say, I just completed my class. Let me test my potential. Go and write this May 2026 ka exam. You may not have the suggested answers in your hand, but you will know how you're performing. That paper, you 99% are bound to fail. No doubts about it, because you've just completed your classes with the pressure of articleship. But it's okay. That paper will come and give you the reality check of how much you are aware about the subject and what you need to prepare better. After May 26, people, once you're done with AFM, you are now in the month of November 26. In the month of November 26, now you have 2 papers. You have AFM also done, you have FR also done. Sit for both the papers and write both the papers in an exam atmosphere. See where you're lacking. This time what would happen is that the FR paper would do a little better than what you did last time. AFM paper you will fail. Then comes one more paper. You're in May. This time, please don't do DT, because you know it's not going to happen. So you again sit back and you do FR and AFM. This time FR is even better. AFM is improving. Then you come to November. That time you would have already done your IDT and audit. With you're done with IDT and audit, people, now you have FR, AFM, IDT and audit to prepare. So do those. Next, when you come to May 27, now you know that you have a DT paper also to solve. So you again solve DT paper, which means by the time you start your study leaves, you have actually done a paper review of all subjects. This helps you with 2 things. One, it tells you how much you have prepared properly and what changes you need to make. Second, it gives you insights on how ICI's exam pattern is. You will now by this time know how exam is tested. You will already be able to formulate that these chapters are what ICI is paying attention to. These chapters may not be important for me. This type of questions are repeating itself again and again. With this much insights in your hand, people, your study leaves will be even better. You'll be preparing even better for your study leave, because now you know what to prepare and what you can choose to ignore. It's not about selective study. It's about smart selective study. That is what should be your preparation strategy, people. And a strategy like this helps you clear CA final in the first attempt with an exemption, possibly with the rank as well. possibly with a rank as well. That is how CA final preparations are to be, people. Now, I am telling you this master plan because this is what I followed. This is what I followed with the small taking, people, because I was doing old syllabus. I had 8 papers, and therefore sometimes I would have not done just FR. I would have done AFR with AFM. I would have done law with costing. Things like that, modifications would happen. But this has been my strategy throughout. In my strategy plan, I have done subjects like this, ensured that I've written one more paper the moment the subject was over, evaluated my performance, made modifications to my reading materials as such, and then when I went for my exam leave, I was already set. 5 months of my exam leave went very relaxing because I knew what I need to prepare. I knew how much time I need to spend on what subject and where are my strong areas and where are my weak areas. With that preparation, going for my exams was an easy cake piece, people. Yes, there will always be this uncertainty when you write your exams that you have not done well, but it's okay. That is something to happen as a human. But when you write your exams, you at least have the confidence that I know what I'm talking about. I know what to prepare. I know what to read. And that's when you do your CA finals better. Yes, this is what I wanted to clarify to all of you people. Following this strategy should help you do the exams better. This is a foolproof mechanism and a tested route, because this is what is happening with all my students in my past as well. Yes, all my students have spent time doing the strategy and therefore are going through the preparation stage very nicely right now. Some of them have also cleared the CA final and are already qualified and doing better things in life. So a strategy like this will really help. But let me also give you this disclaimer, people. Just because Rahul gives you a strategy does not make it an ultimatum. It is a preference. This is how you can keep your life relaxing, but there are always extremes. There are people who like fun on the last days. There are people who want to really proactively do better. If you have a preference of those levels, it's your complete choice. But the only thing is, no matter what you decide, stick to it. Stick to it and decide that you have made this choice and therefore you want to go through with it. Do not have this intention that yes, I will change my strategy last minutes. Going through YouTube channels, watching some ranker videos, and the rankers coming and saying this is what you can do, that is what you can do. Changing a strategy at the last minute will only result in a loss. You do not do that. You decide today what you want to go forward with it, and you stick to it till the very end, no matter what. No matter what is what my preference is. So I'm telling you that you can follow this strategy, people, and it will be a really good strategy for you to clear your exams. But if you have a difference of opinion, please feel free to follow that as well. If you need my suggestions on some things, feel free to reach out to me and I can also help you modify some things here and there. I'm always happy to help you on those levels as well, people, as long as you talk about it. But please very clearly note that you are not in this journey alone. There are people who are backing you up. It may be your parents, it may be your faculties, it may be me included, it may be your fellow friends. Everyone is here to support you on this journey, and therefore it's always appropriate to reach out then and there. They will always be glad to help you out if they are really caring for you, and those are the people which you need to stick in life with, right? You cannot be reaching out to random people because no one wants interest out of you. But the people who really want to put their blood and sweat to make sure that you get your what request you have, then that means that they are a good people and you should be reaching out to them. Keeping yourself away and deciding everything on your own may be a good strategy, but it does not help in the long term. And therefore, always feel free to reach out to everyone, people, including me, if I can be of any support to you. That's it. I again want to congratulate every one of you for clearing a CA Inter and starting this amazing journey of CA Final. I hope you can give me this opportunity to be a part of your CA Final success story, and I would love to take a responsible job in this as well. Yes, that is all from my side, people. I hope you're already going through your ITT GMCs and having a fun time there. You already started your articleship, hunt, and probably you're getting into a good articleship. You are going to have an amazing time from here for the next 2 years. Trust me, this period will never come back to you, and the amazing exposure you're gonna get is what is worth your life. So please do it appropriately. Please do it properly. Think through very hard before you make your choices on your articleship, because it changes reasons. Yes, that is all that I wanted to tell for today, people. I will see you all very soon. Until then, take care. Bye bye.